Marcus Chen was tired. He had been tired for 3 years now. Being a lieutenant commander on a patrol ship at the edge of known space did that to a person. The HFY Relentless Hope was a good ship with a good crew, but the endless black void between stars could make anyone feel small and lonely. He stood on the bridge and watched a strange object floating in space. It was a shrine of some kind. The science team said it was very old, maybe 40,000 years old. It was made of crystal that glowed with a soft blue light. The architects had built it. They were an ancient race that had died long before humans left Earth. Nobody knew much about them except that they had left strange things all over the galaxy. "We should check it out," said Captain Williams. She was a practical woman who liked to follow rules. "Protocol says we catalog anything from the architects." Marcus led the away team. 5 people in spacesuits floating through the dark towards something that had existed before human civilization began. It was beautiful in a strange way. The crystal sang when they touched it. Not with sound, but with something they felt in their bones. Inside the shrine was a single altar. It was made of the same blue crystal. There were symbols on it that nobody could read. The science officer scanned everything and took many pictures. "Hey, Marcus," called out Petty Officer Davis. He was young and always joking. "I heard these architect shrines grant wishes. Why don't you ask for something?" The others laughed. It was a silly spacer tale. Drunk sailors in port bars talked about magic shrines and granted wishes. Nobody believed it. It was just fun. Marcus looked at the altar. He thought about his life. 32 years old. No wife, no family. Just the ship and the stars and the endless patrol routes. His mother sent him messages asking when he would settle down. His sister had 2 kids already. And here he was, floating in the void, looking at something that was ancient when humans still lived in caves. "Fine," he said with a tired smile. "I will play along." He put his hand on the altar. The crystal was warm even through his glove. Strange. "I wish for a wife," he said in a dramatic voice. "One who can keep up with me." Everyone laughed. Marcus laughed too. They finished their scans and went back to the ship. The shrine was logged in the database as anomalous cultural artifact number 7,000-something. Nobody thought about it again. 3 weeks passed. The Relentless Hope continued its patrol. They checked mining stations and escorted cargo ships and did all the boring work that kept the Terran Coalition running. Marcus filed reports and trained new crew members and tried not to think about how empty his quarters felt at night. Then the alarm started screaming. Ship came out of fold space right in front of them. This was not possible. Fold space exits were supposed to happen far from other ships. The math required it. But this ship had appeared close enough to see with naked eyes through the bridge windows. It was black like the space around it. It was shaped like a blade, elegant and deadly. There were no markings that anyone recognized. The computer searched its database and found nothing. "Unknown vessel configuration," the tactical officer reported. "No match in Coalition records. No match in Allied species records. No match in anything." Captain Williams grabbed the communication controls. "Unknown vessel. This is the HFY Relentless Hope of the Terran Coalition. Identify yourself." The response came in perfect human language. A woman's voice, cold and clear. "I have come to honor the contract. Present the petitioner." Nobody understood. What contract? What petitioner? "Unknown vessel, please explain your purpose. We do not understand your message." The one who spoke at the shrine of binding. The one who made the request. "Present him." Everyone on the bridge slowly turned to look at Marcus. He felt his stomach drop. "That is not possible," he said. That was a joke. More information came from the sensors. The ship belonged to the Volkarth Dominion. Humans had only met them twice before. Both meetings had been tense. The Volcariths were old, very old. They had ruled their part of the galaxy for 40,000 years. They were pale and beautiful and drank blood to survive. Humans called them vampires, though the Volcarith did not use that word. They were also extremely dangerous. One Valkoreth ship had destroyed a pirate fleet of 20 vessels without taking damage. Their technology was advanced beyond human understanding. They considered most species to be beneath their notice. "Let them dock," Captain Williams ordered. Her voice was calm, but her hands were shaking. "We cannot fight that ship." The shuttle was sleek and black like its mother vessel. It landed in the cargo bay with perfect precision. 20 armed guards came out first. They were tall and pale with red eyes that seemed to glow. They wore armor that looked like art dot. Then she came out. She was 6 feet tall. Her skin was white like snow. Her hair was black and fell past her shoulders. Her eyes were the color of fresh blood. She wore armor too, but hers was decorated with symbols and marks. Scars crossed her bare arms. Many scars. The marks of someone who had fought many battles and won them all. She walked straight to Marcus. She looked at him for a long moment. He could not look away from those red eyes. "I am Seraphina Velmorthen," she said. Her voice was like music made of ice. "Third daughter of the Crimson House. Mare of 7 campaign scars. Warbride claimant." She smiled, and Marcus saw her fangs. "You called." I answered. "By the old laws, I am yours. And you are mine." Marcus tried to think. He tried to understand. This was not happening. This could not be happening. "I was joking," he managed to say. Seraphina tilted her head like a curious cat. The architects did not joke. Their shrines of binding have connected worthy souls for 40,000 years. When you spoke your wish, it echoed across the stars. It found me. She stepped closer. He could smell something like winter roses. "I have waited 300 years for a call that felt right." "Yours did. 300 years," Marcus repeated weakly. "I am young for my kind." Another smile. "More fangs. But old enough to know what I want. And now I have found it." Captain Williams stepped forward. There must be some mistake. Commander Chun did not mean to invoke any contract. "Surely we can discuss this." Seraphina did not look away from Marcus. "There is no mistake. The shrine chose him to call. It chose me to answer. This is fate, written in crystal and stars." She reached out and touched his face with cold fingers. "Do you reject me, Marcus Chun? Do you find me unworthy?" He looked at this ancient creature. This warrior princess from a civilization that had existed before humans discovered fire. She was terrifying and beautiful and completely impossible. "I just wanted someone to have dinner with," he said quietly. Seraphina laughed. It was a real laugh, full of surprise and delight. "Then we shall start with dinner," she said, "and see where the stars take us." The Terran Coalition had faced many strange situations. First contact with aliens. Wars with hostile species. Plagues that jumped between worlds. But nothing had prepared them for this. A vampire princess from an ancient civilization wanted to marry a human officer because of a joke he made at a magic shrine. The diplomats did not know what to do. They sent messages to their superiors. Their superiors sent messages to their superiors. Soon, everyone important in human space was talking about Marcus Chen and his accidental proposal. The Volcarith Dominion made things more complicated. They did not send a rescue team to bring Seraphina home. They sent gifts instead. 3 warships arrived at Earth orbit. Not to attack. To serve as her dowry. Mining contracts worth more money than some colonies made in a year. A formal offer of alliance between the Dominion and the Terran Coalition. Marcus read the reports in his quarters on the Relentless Hope. Seraphina sat across from him, drinking something red from a crystal glass. He tried not to think about what it was. "Your government seems confused," she observed. "My government has never dealt with vampire wedding traditions before," Marcus replied. "They are still trying to figure out if this is good or bad." "It is good." She said it like a fact, not an opinion. "My people have watched yours for 200 years. Since you first left your home system. You were loud and messy, and you broke things. Many of my kind thought you would destroy yourselves before you mattered. That is not a nice thing to say. It is an honest thing." She set down her glass. "But you did not destroy yourselves. You grew. You spread. You fought the Cathari swarms and won. You survived the Martian collapse when your largest colony lost its atmosphere. You did not give up. You do not know how to give up." Her red eyes studied him. "That is interesting." Marcus did not know how to respond. He had grown up learning about those events in history class. The Cathari War had killed millions. The Martian collapse had nearly broken human civilization. They were tragedies, not achievements. "We just survived," he said. "That is what people do." "No." Seraphina shook her head. "That is what humans do. Other species surrender. They accept defeat. They die quietly. Your people rage against the dark. You fight when fighting is foolish. You hope when hope is gone." She leaned forward. "My people have lived for thousands of centuries. We have conquered much. But we have become slow and comfortable. We have forgotten what hunger feels like. Your species reminds us." Over the next weeks, Marcus learned more about his strange bride. Seraphina was 347 years old, which was young for a Valkyrith. She had fought in 6 wars and earned her scars in battles he could not imagine. Her family was powerful and old, descended from the first Valkyrith who had left their home world. She had never married. She had never found anyone worthy. "The shrines of binding call to those who are meant to find each other," she explained one evening. They were walking through the ship, and crew members quickly moved out of their way. "I felt your call across 10,000 light years. It was like a bell ringing in my blood. I knew I had to answer." "But you did not know anything about me," Marcus said. "I could have been anyone. The shrine knew. The architects built them to find compatible souls. They were matchmakers who worked across species and space and time." She touched one of her scars, a long pale line across her forearm. "I have lived a long time alone. I have fought many battles alone. The shrine promised me a partner, someone who could stand beside me, someone who would not break." Marcus thought about his own life. The empty quarters, the long patrols, the messages from his mother asking when he would find someone. "I am just a normal man," he said. "I am not special." Seraphina stopped walking. She turned to face him fully. "You are human," she said. "That is special enough." The first real test of their bond came 2 months later. The Relentless Hope was patrolling near the fringe territories when the Cathari found them. The insect-like aliens had never forgiven humanity for winning the war. They still raided when they could. 40 ships surrounded them in a debris field. There was no escape. No reinforcements could arrive in time. Captain Williams ordered battle stations. The crew prepared to fight and die. Marcus took his post at the tactical station and began calculating, firing solutions that might take a few enemies with them. Seraphina appeared on the bridge. She had changed into her armor. Her eyes glowed brighter than normal. "I request permission to defend this vessel," she said formally. The captain hesitated. "How?" "Give me access to the airlocks. When they board, I will meet them." The Cathari did not waste time with ship-to-ship combat. They preferred to swarm their targets and take them with numbers. Hundreds of insect warriors flooded through the hull breaches, clicking and hissing and eager for blood. They found Serafina waiting. Marcus watched on the security feeds. He saw her move in ways that human bodies could not move. She was faster than the eye could follow. She was stronger than powered armor. The Gethari had natural weapons, sharp claws, and poisonous stingers. Serafina had 300 years of combat experience and the strength of 10 men. She tore through them like a storm through leaves, but the enemy kept coming. There were too many, even for her. Marcus made a decision. He left his post and grabbed the weapon. Then he ran toward the fighting. He found Serafina in the engine room, surrounded by dead Gethari and living ones. She was wounded. Green blood mixed with her red. She was still fighting, but she was slowing down. Marcus had no vampire strength. He had no ancient combat training. He had a plasma rifle and a stubborn refusal to let her fight alone. He fired into the swarm. He fought with everything he had. When his rifle overheated, he grabbed a welding torch and kept fighting. When the torch died, he used his fists. He was cut and burned and poisoned, but he did not stop. Serafina watched him fight beside her. This small human who should have been hiding. This fragile creature who threw himself into battle against monsters. He was bleeding from a dozen wounds, and he was still swinging. Something changed in her ancient heart. When reinforcements finally arrived, they found the relentless Hope surrounded by destroyed enemy ships. Inside, they found Marcus and Serafina back-to-back in the engine room, standing on a pile of dead Gethari. Both were wounded. Both were still fighting. "You are insane," Serafina told him afterward in the medical bay. "You should have stayed on the bridge. You could have died." "You were alone," Marcus said simply. "I did not like that." She stared at him for a long moment. Then she leaned down and kissed him. Her lips were cold and tasted like copper. "I chose well," she whispered against his mouth. From that day forward, the crew of the Relentless Hope told stories about their strange vampire princess and the officer who fought beside her. The tale spread across the fleet. The man who had accidentally proposed to a vampire. The vampire who had found her match in a species her people considered primitive. The Terran coalition eventually stopped trying to undo the situation. The alliance with the Valkyrith was too valuable. The dowry was too generous. And Marcus Chen, when asked if he wanted out of the arrangement, always gave the same answer. "She can keep up with me," he would say with a small smile. "That is all I asked for." The wedding happened on Velcor Prime. It was the first time a human had ever set foot on the vampire homeworld. Marcus stood at the shuttle window and watched the planet grow larger. It was beautiful in a dark way. Purple oceans under a red sun. Cities that glowed like jewels against the night side. Mountains taller than anything on Earth. The Valkyrith had built their civilization over 40,000 years. Every building was ancient. Every street had history. Statues of forgotten heroes stood in gardens of black roses. Monuments to wars that had ended before humans discovered fire rose into the crimson sky. Marcus felt very small, very young, very human. Serafina took his hand as they walked through the capital city. People stopped to stare. Not with hatred, with curiosity. The human who had won a daughter of the Crimson House. The alien who would join one of the oldest families in the Dominion. "They are wondering what is special about you," Serafina said quietly. "What do you tell them?" "That you stood beside me when you should have run. That you fought when you should have surrendered." She squeezed his hand. "That is more than most of my own kind would do." The ceremony took place in a hall older than human civilization. Marble floors polished by millions of feet over thousands of years. Crystal chandeliers that had burned for centuries. 1,000 Valkyrith nobles watching with their red eyes. The ritual required blood. Of course it did. Marcus had learned that blood was sacred to the Volcaroth. It carried memory and power and identity. To share blood was to share self. An ancient priest in red robes spoke words that humans had never heard before. Seraphina translated in whispers. Promises of loyalty. Vows of protection. Oaths that would last until death and perhaps beyond. Then came the blood. Seraphina cut her palm with a ceremonial knife. Marcus did the same, trying not to wince. They pressed their wounds together and let the blood mingle. The effect was immediate. Marcus gasped as something cold and powerful flowed through his veins. His heart raced. His vision sharpened. Colors became brighter. Sounds became clearer. He could hear the heartbeats of people across the room. "What is happening?" he managed to say. "You are becoming more," Seraphina replied. "Not one of us? You will still be human. But the bond changes you. It shares my strength with you." The priest continued the ceremony. Marcus stood straighter as the changes settled into his body. He felt stronger than he had ever felt. Faster. More alive. This was what Seraphina carried inside her every day. This power and clarity. "You will live longer now," Seraphina told him afterward in their private chambers. "A century more, perhaps two. You will heal faster. Move quicker." She traced a finger across his cheek. "You will keep up with me better." "I thought I was already keeping up." She smiled, showing fangs. "Now you will not have to work so hard." The marriage changed everything between humans and Volcaroth. For the first time in the Dominion's long history, they had formal allies. Ships began to patrol together. Officers began to train together. Two civilizations that had circled each other carefully for decades now stood side by side. Other species noticed. Some were happy about the alliance. The Volcaroth and humans together made a powerful force. Trade deals followed. Scientific exchanges began. The galaxy seemed to be entering a new age of cooperation, but not everyone was pleased. The Syndicate Courts, a loose alliance of criminal species, saw the new friendship as a threat. The Cathari, still angry about their lost war, grew even more hostile. Old enemies of the Volcaroth began to whisper and plan. Then came the hollow. It emerged from the galactic core, 6 months after Marcus and Seraphine's wedding. Nobody had seen it coming. Nobody had known it existed. It was a machine intelligence, cold and vast and hungry. It did not communicate. It did not negotiate. It simply consumed. The first civilization to fall was the Myrthani. They had lived in the core systems for 10,000 years. They were gone in a week. Their world stripped bare. Their populations processed into raw materials. Their history erased. The second was the Caliph. Then the Version. Then 5 more species that most of the galaxy had never heard of. The hollow moved outward like a slow tide of death. It built more of itself from everything it consumed. Stars were drained for energy. Planets were taken apart for metal. Living things were reduced to component atoms. The Volcaroth High Council met for the first time in 3,000 years. The great nobles gathered in the ancient chambers and faced a truth they had never imagined. Something existed that could threaten the Dominion itself. "We have fought many enemies," the High Lord said to the assembled nobles. "We have always won. But this thing does not fight as we understand fighting. It does not conquer. It erases." Seraphina stood among the council. Her marriage to Marcus had elevated her status. A daughter who had brought an alliance worth more than gold. "What do the humans say?" asked one of the elder nobles. "They are allies now. They should stand with us." "They will," Seraphina replied. "They are already preparing their fleets. They are already making weapons." "Human weapons are primitive," another noble scoffed. kinetic rounds and nuclear warheads. What use are those against an enemy that drinks stars? Marcus was in the gallery, watching the debate. He had learned some of the Valkyrith language over the past months. He understood the dismissal in that noble's voice, but he also understood something the vampires did not. Humans had never won wars by being elegant. They won by being stubborn and creative, and willing to do things that other species considered impossible. That he thought about human history. The trenches of World War I, the desperate charges of World War II, the HFY War, where human soldiers had strapped bombs to their bodies and walked into enemy hives. The Martian collapse, where people had built sealed shelters from wreckage and survived for years. Without hope of rescue, humanity did not know how to give up. That was not pride. It was simple fact. They call us primitive, Marcus said to Serafina that night. They think our weapons are weak. They have never seen what you do with weak weapons, she replied. I have. The combined fleet assembled over the next months. 300 Valkyrith warships, 250 human vessels, a few dozen ships from other allied species who understood what was coming. Serafina was given command. A war princess of the Crimson House, leading the largest fleet in Dominion history. Marcus served beside her as tactical advisor, the human who understood both species. We are going to fight something that is never lost, Serafina said to him before the first battle. Something that has consumed 12 civilizations already. Then we will be the first to stop it, Marcus replied. She looked at him with those ancient red eyes. You truly believe that? I truly do. Why? Marcus thought about his species. Their short lives and endless ambitions. Their weak bodies and unbreakable spirits. Their habit of doing the impossible simply because someone said it could not be done. Because we are human, he said, and we do not know how to lose. The first battle against the Hollow was a disaster. The combined fleet met the enemy in a system called Volantis. There was nothing left of the planet that had once orbited the star. The Hollow had already taken it apart, but the machine swarm was still there, processing the debris into more of itself. 10,000 enemy units. Drones of various sizes, from small fighters to ships as large as mountains. All of them connected to a single cold intelligence. All of them hungry. The Valkyrith attacked first. Their strategy was elegant and precise. Energy weapons fired in calculated patterns. Warships moved in formations perfected over millennia. It was beautiful, like a deadly dance. The Hollow did not care about beauty. Its shields adapted to the energy weapons within seconds. The calculated patterns were analyzed and countered. 3 dreadnoughts vanished in flashes of light before anyone understood what was happening. Pull back, Serafina ordered. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were troubled. Regroup at Rally Point 7. The fleet retreated. They had lost 15 ships and done no visible damage. The Hollow continued its work, ignoring them like a giant ignores insects. In the command chamber, the admirals argued. The Valkyrith had never retreated from a fight. They had never faced something they could not hurt. Their elegant tactics were useless against an enemy that did not think, did not fear, and learned faster than they could adapt. We need a new approach, Serafina said. What approach? An elder admiral demanded. Our weapons cannot pierce its defenses. Our tactics cannot confuse it. We are fighting mathematics itself. Marcus stood in the corner, studying the battle recordings. He had been watching the Hollow's movements, looking for patterns, looking for weaknesses. Let the humans lead the next attack, he said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him, some with confusion, some with contempt. Human tactics are even more primitive than ours, the elder admiral said. What could you possibly offer? Something you have forgotten how to do, Marcus replied. Fight dirty. The second battle happened 2 days later. The human fleet moved to the front while the Valkyreth held back. 250 ships against thousands of drones. Admiral Park commanded the human forces. She was old and scarred and had fought in 3 wars. She did not believe in elegant tactics. She believed in winning. "All ships," she broadcast. "You know the plan. Make them bleed." The human fleet charged Dot. It looked like suicide. It probably was suicide. But humans had learned something important about the Hollow from the first battle. Its shields adapted to weapons. Its intelligence countered formations. But it had trouble predicting actions that made no logical sense. The first wave of human ships overloaded their engines and rammed directly into the Hollow's formation. They exploded, taking dozens of drones with them. The crews had already evacuated in escape pods. Mostly the Hollow paused. It had not expected enemies to destroy their own ships. It began to recalculate. While it was recalculating, the second wave attacked. Nuclear weapons, considered too crude for proper warfare, detonated among the drone formations. Kinetic rounds, just metal moving very fast, punched through hulls that had stopped energy beams. The Hollow adapted again. Its shields changed to handle the primitive weapons. But the adaptation took time. And humans used that time. Boarding parties launched from destroyers. Soldiers in powered armor, carrying cutting tools and explosives, landed on the larger Hollow units. The machine intelligence had never faced enemies, who would willingly enter its vessels. Marcus watched from the command ship as human soldiers fought their way through metal corridors, planting charges near processing cores. Many died. The Hollow's internal defenses were lethal, but enough survived to reach their targets. Explosions bloomed inside the enemy formation. Not elegant energy bursts. Ugly, brutal detonations that tore machines apart from within. "Impossible," the elder Valkyreth admiral whispered. "They are boarding a machine swarm." "They are human," Seraphina replied. Her voice held something like pride. "This is what they do." The second battle was not a victory, but it was not a defeat either. The combined fleet destroyed hundreds of enemy units before retreating. The Hollow had learned that these new enemies would not follow logical patterns, but the Hollow learned quickly. The war lasted 3 years. 3 years of battles across 100 systems. 3 years of losses that would have broken any other species. The Hollow consumed 3 more civilizations during that time. It grew larger and smarter and more dangerous. The humans grew more desperate. And desperation made them more creative. They developed new weapons that the Valkyreth called insane. Missiles that released clouds of nanobots programmed to eat metal. Bombs that created temporary black holes. Ships designed to explode in specific patterns that overloaded enemy sensors. They developed new tactics that the Valkyreth called suicide. Squads that infiltrated Hollow construction stations and destroyed them from within. Pilots who flew their ships into enemy cores at the last possible moment. Crews that fought to the last human, even when victory was impossible. The Valkyreth began to change too. Watching the humans fight, they remembered something they'd forgotten. What it felt like to be desperate. What it meant to fight without certainty of victory. They began to fight dirtier too. Seraphina led from the front. Her ship was always in the thickest fighting. Marcus fought beside her, using the enhanced reflexes and strength from their blood bond. They were good together. They covered each other's weaknesses. They made each other stronger. "Your people are monsters," a Valkyreth captain told Marcus after a particularly brutal battle. "I mean that with respect." "Thank you," Marcus replied. I think. By the 3rd year, the tide had turned. The Hollow was being pushed back toward the galactic core. The combined fleet had learned how to hurt it. More species had joined the alliance. bringing their own weapons and tactics and desperate determination. But the Hollow had learned too. It had been studying its enemies, especially the humans. It had decided that they were the biggest threat to its existence. So it built something special, something aimed at their home. The scouts found it near Mercury, already charging. A weapon large enough to crack planets, powerful enough to break worlds. It was pointed at Earth. "They are targeting our home," Admiral Park said at the Emergency Council. Her voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. "They know that if they kill Earth, they break our spirit." "Will it?" Serafina asked. She looked at Marcus. He thought about Earth. Blue oceans and green forests. 8 billion people. The cradle of his species. Everything humanity had been and everything they could become. "No," he said. "It will not break us. It will make us angry." Serafina smiled. It was not a nice smile. It was the smile of a predator who had found worthy prey. "Then let us show them what angry humans can do." The Battle of Sol was the largest fight in galactic history. Every ship that could fly came to defend Earth. 400 Valkyrath warships, 300 human vessels, auxiliary fleets from 6 other species who understood what was at stake against them. The Hollow had gathered its full strength. 10,000 drone units. The planet cracker weapon charging in Mercury's shadow. A machine intelligence that had consumed 15 civilizations and saw no reason why it would not consume one more. Marcus stood on the bridge of the ISV Defiance, a battleship built specifically for this fight. Through the windows, he could see Earth, blue and green and white, beautiful and fragile. Home. Seraphine's voice came through the communication system. She was on her flagship, leading the Valkyrath fleet. "If we fall today," she said on a private channel, "know that I regret nothing. You have given me purpose. You have given me fire." "We are not falling," Marcus replied. "We are too stubborn to die. You married into that, remember?" She laughed, and the sound warmed something in his chest. "All ships," Admiral Park broadcast to the fleet. "They want our home. Let us show them why that was a mistake. All units, engage." The battle began. It was chaos and fire and death. Ships exploded in every direction. Weapons fire painted the void in 1,000 colors. The Hollow's drones swarmed like angry insects, and the combined fleet met them with everything they had. The Valkyrath fought with cold precision. Centuries of warrior training guided every shot, every maneuver. They had been conquerors for 40,000 years. They knew how to kill. The humans fought with desperate fury. They did not care about elegant tactics. They cared about winning. When shields failed, they rammed. When weapons ran out, they found new ones. When death came close, they spat in its face. 10 hours into the battle, half the fleet was gone. The Hollow had lost thousands of units, but it kept building more. The planet cracker was almost fully charged. In an hour, maybe less, it would fire and Earth would die. "We need to destroy that weapon," Marcus said. "Nothing else matters. The defenses around it are too strong," his tactical officer replied. "Nothing we can get through." Marcus looked at the display. The planet cracker was surrounded by layers of protection. Drones and shields and point defense systems. A fortress in space, designed to stop exactly what they were trying to do. But there was one gap. One path through the defenses. It was too small for a ship. It was barely large enough for a shuttle. "Get me Serafina," he ordered. Her face appeared on his screen. She was wounded. A cut across her forehead bled freely. But her eyes were still bright with the joy of battle. "I see it too," she said before he could speak. "The gap. The path to the core. We can take a boarding team. If we can get inside, we can destroy it." She nodded. I am on my way to you." Her shuttle cut through the battle like a knife through silk. She docked with the Defiance just as Marcus was assembling his team. 30 soldiers, the best they had left. Humans and Valkarath together. "This is probably a one-way trip," Marcus told them. "We probably will not survive." Nobody left. Nobody even blinked. They launched in a modified assault shuttle. Around them, the battle raged. Ships died to clear their path. Friends sacrificed themselves to give them a chance. The gap in the defenses was narrow and deadly. Point defense fire scraped their hull. Drones tried to intercept them. The pilot, a young woman named Chun, who was somehow still smiling, flew like she had been born in the void. They made it through. They crashed into the planet cracker's outer hull and cut their way inside. The interior was a maze of metal and light. The hollow's defenses came alive around them. Security drones, automated weapons, corridors that rearranged themselves to confuse and trap. They fought through it all. Seraphina led from the front, moving like death itself. Marcus fought beside her, the blood bond giving him speed and strength he had never imagined. Their soldiers fell one by one, holding corridors and buying time. By the time they reached the core chamber, only 7 remained. The core was massive, a sphere of pulsing energy that powered the entire weapon. Destroy it, and the planet cracker would die. But it was protected by a final ring of defense drones. More than they could fight. More than they could survive. "I will hold them," Seraphina said. She drew her blade. "Plant the charges. Finish this. I am not leaving you. You are not leaving me." She kissed him once, quickly. "You are going ahead. I will catch up. I always do." Marcus wanted to argue. He wanted to stay. But he understood what she was saying. Someone had to plant the bombs. Someone had to make sure Earth survived. "I love you," he said. "I know." She smiled, fangs and all. "I love you too, Marcus Chun. Now go save your world." She charged the defense drones alone. 300 years of combat experience against machines that did not tire and did not fear. She bought them meds. She bought them everything. Marcus planted the charges. His hands were steady even as his heart broke. Around him, the last of his soldiers gave their lives protecting him. Good people. Brave people. Humans and Valkarath dying together. The charges were set. The timer was running. Now they just had to escape. He found Seraphina still fighting. She was wounded badly now. One arm hung limp. Green blood covered her armor. But she was still standing. Still killing. "The charges are planted," he said. "Then we run." They ran. Through corridors that collapsed behind them. Past drones that tried to stop them. Toward the shuttle that somehow was still intact. The explosion happened when they were halfway out. The planet cracker died in a flash of light that was visible from Earth. A new star, burning briefly above the world it had been designed to destroy. The shockwave caught their shuttle. Systems failed. Hull integrity failed. They tumbled through space, broken and burning. Marcus held Seraphina as the world went dark. He felt her cold hand gripping his. He heard her voice saying his name. Then nothing. He woke up in a hospital on Earth. 3 weeks had passed. The war was over. The Hollow, with its central intelligence destroyed along with the planet cracker, had fragmented and scattered. The remaining drones were being hunted down across the galaxy. Humanity had survived. Earth was safe. They had won. Seraphina was in the bed next to his. She was wrapped in bandages and connected to machines, but she was alive. Her red eyes opened when she felt him looking at her. "You called for a wife who could keep up with you," she said. Her voice was weak but amused. "I believe I have met the terms of the contract." Marcus laughed. It hurt, but he did not care. "I think you exceeded them," he said. Outside the hospital window, Earth turned slowly in the light of its sun, scarred but standing, defiant as always. Across the galaxy, other species looked at the humans who had held the line, the monsters who refused to die. They told stories about the battle of Soul, about the species that had broken an enemy that had consumed 15 civilizations. They whispered a word, a name, a warning. Humanity. The Hollow had learned it too late. Others would learn it better. Do not threaten Earth. Do not underestimate humans. Do not assume that because they are small and short-lived and fragile, they will break. They do not break. They do not surrender. They do not know how to lose. And sometimes, when an exhausted officer makes a joke at an ancient shrine, they even find love among the stars. Marcus and Serafina recovered slowly. They returned to space eventually. She commanded fleets. He served beside her. They fought new battles and made new friends and grew old together, as much as either of them could age now. The galaxy changed around them. The alliance they had helped forge grew into something larger. Species that had fought for millennia found reasons to cooperate. The Hollow's threat had united them, and they discovered they liked being united. It all started with a tired man, a magic shrine, and a joke that changed the universe. But really, it started with something simpler, something that humans had carried with them since they first looked up at the stars, the belief that things could be better, the stubbornness to make it happen. The fire that burns in every human heart. That fire had saved them all, and it always would.